Do you ever feel like giving up? Do you ever feel like just throwing in the towel? Maybe I'd be better off not going for this dream, not going for this goal, not doing this thing. Yeah, I feel that way sometimes too. In fact, I felt that way today. So I recorded this very podcast for you to share with you what I did to get myself from feeling discouraged, which discouragement is the number one thing that's stopping us and holding us back, the number one thing that's allowing us to procrastinate and filling us with worry and fear and distracting us from the big thing that's on our hearts. I know it is for me. So in this podcast, I share with you the 4 things that I did to get back to this state of contentment and gratitude. And my hope for you is that you're able to listen to this podcast anytime and let go of all fear, all disbelief, all worry, and step into trust and faith.
Welcome back to the Permission Slip podcast, and we have a quick but mighty impromptu episode for you today. And it's all about the idea of resistance. So how did this come about for me? I was sitting thinking as we are making some big changes in our company this year, in our business, and how we're doing work, and it's been so beautiful. It's really been stretching me and growing me. And I've had so many breakthroughs and transformations. And, 3 months of the year is not even up yet. And I'm so grateful for that. But within that resistance also comes doubt sometimes and comes fear. And I know and I believe deep in my spirit and my soul that the direction that I'm going is the right one. It is my next assignment from God. It is part of my calling. However, in order to complete the assignment, in order to get there, in order to achieve the goals, in order to do all the things I'm being called to do, it's taking a different version of me, a different level of me, which means that I have to act, think, behave, interact, and do different things than I'm accustomed to, than my nervous system is accustomed to, than I've ever done before. Then I have to do different things than other people around me possibly are not doing. I have to be the one to go first. And with all of that, this thought came to my mind, and maybe you can relate if you have a big dream or goal if you listen to this podcast, I'm sure you've had one before. And I thought, what if I just threw in the towel? What if I just gave it all up? What if I just paid out the contracts to get out of them early? What if I just gave it all up? Have you ever thought that? You ever felt that? Throw in the towel. And it wasn't even throw in the towel, burn it all down and start over. It was just throw in the towel. And so I thought this would be a really wonderful podcast that I could share with you. Okay, so what did I do? And if you've ever felt this way on a dream, a goal, a relationship, an opportunity that you have in front of you, these are steps that you can take, that you can try out to see if you can get back in alignment with your highest self. Back in alignment with your calling, with your assignment, or even just move up the emotional scale. So the emotional scale is a scale of emotions where at the very bottom is like despair. You're distraught. And at the very top is just overwhelming joy. Somewhere in the middle is just being fine, being level. And so the goal when we're feeling down, the goal for me today, when I was feeling like maybe I'll just throw in the towel, I don't want to use the words give up, but that's not what it felt like. Like I didn't have the energy or the strength or the bandwidth or the capacity. And so I was down that emotional emotional scale. Now, the goal is not, I don't think I'm going to be like overjoyed at the very top. The goal is just to move up the emotional scale a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. And I have to tell you that I was able to get to being level. And I'm just at a level of contentment right now. So I'm feeling good. I'm grateful and I'm content and I'm ready for the next thing. While I'm not too overjoyed and energetic as I usually am, I'm okay with that. But here's what I did specifically when I started thinking, maybe I'll just give up. First of all, I was working on a task and I stopped. I completely stopped. I did what I called psychological detachment from work, which means I'm not going to think about it. I gave myself the grace to step away, to take a break, and I went outside for a little bit. I got in nature, got some fresh air. The wind is blowing today. It's warm outside today. So I didn't look, but it's probably about like 80, partly sunny. I moved around a little bit. I had been sitting down for a considerable amount of the day. Now that I think about it, probably like 3 hours or more. And my energy often, when I sit for over 3 hours, will get stuck. So it needs to be moving. And our energy is meant to move. Every cell in our body is meant to move. So even if you get up and move around, do a few air squats, shake around a little bit, move your limbs, that's going to really help you. But if you can get outside, that is going to really, really help you. It's going to connect you and it's going to ground you. Nature is very, very healing. So I took a break and I got outside and I'm like, okay, here I am. Then I realized one of the things that I've done in the past when I'm struggling like this is I don't share it with anyone. And so then I started sharing it with Joel, my significant other, and I would speak the things out loud to him. And he is such a great resource for me. And that's so helpful because you can start to take your power back when you speak your fears out loud. But the one thing that I've learned is if I can speak this out loud to a trusted advisor, and I'll let you know what I mean by that, they can not only help me reset and reframe, but they can expand me and send me on a different path. And a trusted advisor is like a guide or a mentor. Someone that has been where you want to go, is doing what you want to be doing, has experience and expertise in the area that maybe you're struggling with. It's not just going to be a random person, your best friend, your cousin, your sister, your mom, because they don't know, they haven't experienced it. And so you need a trusted advisor. So I reached out to a trusted advisor and I shared a little bit with what I was struggling with. And it was just simple words. She didn't necessarily say, Carmen, you should do this, but she shared an experience that she had in her life that was similar in what she did. And she was able to help me reframe. And one of the things that she reframed was that I had told her about a risk I had taken last year and then some personal challenges that Joel and I had financially, where the risk business wise became very risky this year and it's putting some pressure on things. And she said, you know what, Carmen, as an entrepreneur, the true definition of an entrepreneur is being willing to have a vision that's so compelling. And I'm adding a little bit to it because I can just feel this right now deeply in my soul. She said risk and reward, but being willing to have a vision that's so compelling, that's going to serve and impact the world and make a difference in such a way that you're willing to take the greatest risk because you know it is going to achieve the greatest reward. That, yeah, you're right. I've signed up for this. I'm signed on for that. In the moment when I was thinking I'm going to throw in the towel, I was like, well, what would I do? I go back to a corporate job? That, and my nervous system was like, no. Everything in me was like, that is not the right answer. So being able to seek a trusted advisor was so important after taking my break and really resetting, because it's so important to check in with yourself. And I knew that it's just that resistance that's coming up. And it's just such a great reminder about resistance. The Art of War is a book by Stephen Pressfield. And he says, resistance has no strength on its own. Every ounce of juice it possesses comes from us. We feed it with power by our fear of it. Master that fear, and we conquer resistance. And so, right now, it seems like one of my biggest fears that I haven't felt in a while is pressure around finances and the safety that finances bring, and how, as humans, we all want to feel safe and secure. Now, isn't this interesting? So, it's hitting a chord, an old chord of not feeling safe or secure. So, very interesting. So, it's conquering that fear and understanding that I'm always safe, I'm always secure, I'm always supported. I'm held up by God and by the universe. I have so many friends and family. I am supported and I am safe all of the time. So, taking a break, seeking a trusted advisor. And then I took some time to reflect on my wins. So, this year, I've been writing each and every day my wins and my gratitudes, which has just been so remarkable for me. Let me just open my journal to a particular day, and I'll read you a few so you can hear. Earlier in the year, one of my gratitudes was Joel's endless love. Another gratitude was other influential women who are willing to show up and support each other. Today it was women like Christina, Shannon, Belinda, Shaylee, and Crystal. Some wins for this day was we did our first roundtable podcast. I love that. Teamwork of my team. And I listed out Teresa and Louisa and Michael and Natalie, and just how much we were working together. It was just such a win. And yeah, I love seeing these wins. Um, Another win was staying high vibe and on point during my travel and really stepping into my significance and not allowing the difference of environment to pull down my energy, enthusiasm, or aliveness. So it's been really beneficial for me to reflect on my wins. It builds this energy of celebration, it builds this energy of belief and confidence. Because what's the opposite of that when we're not celebrating our wins? We're focusing on what we should be doing and telling ourselves we should be doing more, could be doing more, which just feeds everybody's deep rooted sense of I'm not good enough. The other thing that I did is I have a folder that I keep messages and notes and things in. So I have a physical one and then I have a digital one. So I pulled up this little note that someone told me on my digital folder, and it brought me to tears just remembering and knowing that the person I am and how I show up makes a difference for people. No matter if they tell me or not, I am making a difference. And I had met a woman, and I don't have the date, but she texted me back and it was 2:54 p.m. and she said, "Thank you. It was so wonderful meeting you as well. I really appreciate your energy and how you saw me when I often feel invisible." And so, I'm tearing up. That just reminds me of how important it is, the work that I'm doing. For example, at the conference that we're hosting later in September, one of our intentions is to ensure that there are no wallflowers. No one is invisible. Everybody's going to be part of a mastermind group with 20 other amazing individuals. You're not just going to be sitting in the audience. You're going to connect before, after, and during, and get coaching and mentoring and create thriving, meaningful relationships with other like-minded individuals. And that's just included with your ticket. You don't have to do anything extra or pay anything extra. No one's invisible. We all want to be seen. So important. Then I pulled up this little note I had saved. It was rolled rolled up, folded up, and it says, God wants to take you into the territory he has already prepared for you. I'm praying that his direction for you becomes clear and exciting as you lay down your agenda for his plans. And just a reminder that God won't bless you where you no longer belong. And that was really big for me today that I pulled these two things out, because those are the things I'm being called to do. And if I'm thinking that God is going to bless me in the old ways that I was thinking, I should be believing for more, for bigger, for expanding my capacity within my mind and my spirit and my body for what he has for me next. The next two things, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to help someone else. I'm just going to go out and go for a longer walk and see if I can't find someone to help. That always uplifts my spirit. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I have these notebooks, and they're small notebooks. I'll put the link actually in the show notes, but they're small notebooks and I carry them around with me for different reasons. One's for my book, one's for regular inspiration and ideas. They fit perfectly almost into any size bag or purse. It's almost like a pocket notebook. I think it's like 5 by, I don't know, 6, something like that. But I also have one where I track and journal my experiences. So I'm going to be writing down what I was doing, how I was feeling, how I've been taking care of myself recently, and just keeping track of that experience so that I can see, who was I around? What was I doing? What was I thinking? How was I feeling? And so I can go back and I can look and I can be proactive in attempting to minimize this in the future, attempting to become more self-aware, attempting to call myself out on my own BS. And so that when this feeling comes up of I'm just going to throw in the towel, I'll be able to come back a little quicker. Because you know what I know and I want you to hear is feelings like this and other feelings of fear and doubt and insecurity. It's not that they don't ever come back again once you've done this work. In fact, each new level that you get to, they're going to come back more and more and more and more. But you reframe and you come back from them faster. You can use them as breakthroughs and lessons even faster and opportunities to learn. You don't see them as a negative, you see them as a positive. And so that's why I keep track of that journal and the experience. And also, pretty soon, maybe even later today, when I do some journaling about my day, this experience is going to turn into a win. So that's it. I just want you to know we are all human. We all feel this. And if this comes up for you, try these steps and see how they work for you. I can't wait to hear from you. Please do text this episode to someone if you think it'll help them today. I know it definitely helped me just sharing with you. Hey, maybe you're all the person that I was meant to help today, and that was part of the list. So thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm open to hear from you in the DMs on Instagram. And if you haven't been over to LinkedIn lately, I've been sharing some really amazing life, leadership, philosophies and principles over there. So check me out over there. I'm at Carmen at all things. And thanks for listening to the podcast.